de Bello Gallico, Book 5, Chapter 44. There were ablative place phrase in that legion, subject phrase, very strong men, appositional centurions, Titus Pullo, and Lucius Varanus, relative adjective clause, who now were would approach. It's almost a relative purpose clause. Who would approach takes the data, the first ranks of centurions. So these are two centurions who wanted to move on up. Those were having object phrase perpetually controversies amongst themselves, namely whether which of two would be preferred to the other. Indirect question clause. And they were contending, or they used to contend, ablative manner, perhaps with the highest bickerings about the location or the place, the position. Ablative place phrase in all years. Out of these, Pulo says, whether it might be fought, indirect question clause, most vigorously to the fortifications. Or when, perhaps, when is probably the best thing. It's a cum. When there was a fighting most vigorously to the fortifications. He says this, indirect question clause, why would you hesitate, Varinus? Or what place do you wait for of the proving of your virtue? Genitive gerundive there. This day, notice the anaphora, this day will decide about our controversies. Cum, when he had said this things, he proceeded outside the fortifications, qua parte, in which place it was seen or seemed most full of enemies. Nor did Varinus indeed then contain himself on the wall, ablative place phrase, but deponent circumstance clause, having feared the opinion of all the soldier boys, he follows closely with ablative absolute, with a mediocre or middling distance having been left between the two. Pulo sends his javelin into the enemies, and he transyecit, fixed one out of the multitude running forward, unum and procurentum going together. Ablative absolute clause, who, having been struck and having been laid senseless, the enemies protect him with their shields, and they all, conjiciunt, throw their spears against him being Pulo, nor do they give a power or ease of returning. So Pulo's got a problem. The shield for Pulo, this is a dative of possession, is transfixed, and a Warutum Gallic spear is stuck into his belt, or a dart, so he apparently got aimed at by arrow. This misfortune turns away. This misfortune happens. It turns away, or this misfortune of having something stuck in his belt turns away the scabbard where his sword is, and it delays his right hand in the endeavoring, takes the genitive of endeavoring to draw out the sword. So this genitive present participle is going to be almost a gerund. And the enemies surround him all impeded. Varenus, his foe, not his enemy in a big way, but more of his foe for the position, succors him, takes the dative. So, special verb taking the dative as object phrase, helps him and comes up to him laboring, takes the dative as the object phrase. All the multitude immediately turn themselves from Pulo. They think that he is run through by the dart in his belt. Adverb there, truly, Varenus runs up with his sword, ablative of manner, perhaps, and he carries the affair, cominus, adjective being used adverbally, hand to hand. And with one having been killed, he repulses the others a little bit. Whilst he presses on most eagerly. What happens then? It's exciting. You got a nice battle going on. Went too far. Whilst he is having been thrown down, he fell into a lower place, so he dropped a little bit. Pulo again brings help to him, having been surrounded. Tables are turned. And both safe, with several having been killed, ablative absolute clause, betake or recover themselves with the ablative of manner, with the greatest praise into the fortifications. Thus, fortune turned each in their contention and their contest, so that the one who might have been an enemy, so that the one who was an enemy would be for a double dative and for the safety of each other. Nor might it be able, complement clause, result, I think, for it to be decided whether, indirect question, whether of the two would seem to have been to be preferred, must needs be preferred, takes the essay there, or to the other in virtue. Oh my goodness, that was exciting. Lots of nice battle and description. So while we have a couple minutes, let's look back over it again. We have here Caesar comparing two centurions who weren't even the top rank centurions who were fighting to be number one. So this rivalry then creates what? It creates bravery, and it's a big, brave account. Now, is it by a coincidence that Caesar is bringing out this rivalry and this attack in the midst of this major problem in Quintus's situation, when we remember Sabinus and Cotta, who weren't rivals, they were merely trying to get along. So according to Caesar's belief, you have the best idea wins by forcing the matter to arms and them also competing, but more than that, competing and helping each other. So there is that concept of teamwork in the midst of competition. Delightful, delightful, delightful. Vale et atque.